just like we have tests, simple tests, can we have performance tests built into the module? So then somebody could run all the performance tests in an automated fashion and use that data to help people select the right module to use. Similarly, security, there's automated tools that we can put in place to do static code analysis, to do dynamic code analysis, to do penetration testing, all of those things. And I honestly think we should start looking at those and make sure we're ready. Of course, there's also going to be like 30,000 people at DrupalCon North America. Maybe we'll have more conferences with fewer people, but if we keep growing, we might hit that number. We'll have 9 million users on D.O, which is about the size of Belgium. And we'll run 10% of the web, as I said, or maybe more, because we're already between 1 and 2%. So that's a little interesting. But does it sound crazy? It might sound a little bit crazy, but I think it's possible. I think there are examples of other open source projects, that got to a large market share, if you will, like Linux. They have 20% market share just in the server. Firefox have 25% market share, or according to some other sources, 30% market share. Thank you. And so there are open source comparables out there that have sort of reached that point that we might be able to reach. And honestly, I think we have what it takes to get there. And that's essentially all of you guys, our community. I think you're the reason of Drupal's success. Your passion, your determination, your willingness to convince me that I'm wrong in an issue for using 200 comments. Is what made us what we are today. It's the fact that we all collaborate together, and I think we should be very proud of what we have accomplished as a group of people. Sometimes I think about it, and it's sort of almost something that only happens once in your life, potentially, right? Being part of something which is, a phenomena that it's growing really big, and you're being able to be part of that, from the early days is pretty. Remarkable, I would say. So, of course, you can look back in the mirror and say everything was easy, but I can guarantee you that, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the problems that we were facing back then looked pretty hard. Just like the problems that if you look forward today, we also, are faced with some hard problems. So I think we'll get there. So far, we've been able to grow into all of those problems, and we've been able to solve them. Also, I think that 10% might be closer than it appears. I think it might come faster than within the next 10 years. So my gut tells me it's sort of conservative, if you will. And even if we don't grow by 10%, I think we'll still grow a lot sort of in absolute numbers. The web is just exploding. Content creation, social software, all of those things are just exploding, and Drupal is at the center. Open source, Web 2.0, social media. Drupal is really at the center of all of those things, so we're well placed, to play in this new world, if you will. So we'll see many, many more Drupal sites, even if we get stuck at 1%. And why am I obsessing about market share? I'm not really obsessed with it per se, but I think it's something that's very useful because it provides us influence. And I think Firefox is a great example. The fact that Firefox had 20%, they were able to influence all of the other players. They were able to influence Microsoft to get their act together with Microsoft Internet Explorer. Finally Microsoft adopted open standards and all of those things because they felt the pressure of Firefox, even though Firefox only had small market share relative to Microsoft Internet Explorer. So even if you have some number of percentage, I think we can use it in a good way to help make the web a better place, right? And that's, I think, what I mean with the second point, which is it allows us to work on stuff that matters, and it allows us to put the Drupal influence, to do good things with that influence. Anyway, let's go back to 2020 and talk a little bit more about what the world would look like. you know, just like Linux journal, I think, you know, Drupal might have a print magazine. You know, maybe Catherine from Linux journal and I think Steve from Drupal Radar can get together and, you know, make it happen in the next couple of days. But I honestly believe we'll have something like this. You know, maybe we'll have an ad on TV, you know, 10 years from now. Might be Drupal ads in prime time. Or, wait, TV is going to be dead in 2010, and print media might be dead too, right? It's all replaced by the web. It's sort of joking. I guess what I'm trying to say is I think if we get to that kind of market share in 2020, you know, I think we'll have learned how to do a better job promoting Drupal, whatever the right channels are at that point in time. The Drupal Association probably will maybe write some technical white papers. You know, the Drupal Association might have strategic partnerships with some other organizations, all of those things. I think it would be very healthy for the Drupal project in general. What I do know we'll have is, you know, a sex scandal. I think DrupalCon will be involved in a sex scandal, and we'll have a sex videotape being widely circulated on the web. But for that to happen, we really need to move beyond the engineers. It's not enough to just have developers, and it would be really helpful. It would really help this happen if we had a better mix of the different genders, a better balance between all of the different genders in this room. So hopefully by 2020 we'll have more than just engineers, and we'll have more, you know, men and women, and you know. So I hope that will happen. But the point, though, is that we need to grow beyond just the technical people. You know, the way Drupal is adopted is still very grassroots by technical people. Say they build a website for their school or something, and all of a sudden they're using Drupal or they're installing Drupal on their corporate intranet. You know, that's pretty much the story that I hear all the time. And so we need to figure ways for the, you know, CIOs and the CTOs to learn about Drupal, and we need to figure out ways to tell non-technical people like our mothers, you know, and our brothers about Drupal as well. So both on the low end as well as on the high end. But what about this? What about Amazon.com running Drupal in 2020? The biggest e-commerce on the planet. Would it be possible? It sounds extreme. It definitely sounds extreme, but at the same time, you know, Whitehouse.gov runs on Drupal, and it's the biggest government site on the planet. So, you know, it might be possible. I think the commerce guys and the Uber card people